Hello and welcome to the skating lesson. I'm Dave Lees.
And I'm Nolan Carney. Hello, David.
Hello and welcome to this and that. Today we're going to be discussing everything that happened at the Four Continents Championships in Korea and a little bit on the Olympic test event. So if you're new here, please subscribe below, smash that like button. Nolan, this was a messy week of skating. Apparently, quite a few skaters got the stomach flu, gastroenteritis, as they say at Four Continents. So it was a rocky event. Yeah, this was interesting. What did you make of the event?
Well, first, I just want to say happy belated birthday to
Oh,
you.
thank you. Yes.
I have messaged you obviously on your birthday,
Yeah,
but
of
I want
course. Yes.
all the TSL fans to know that it was
Thank you.
it was
It
your
was
and Terry's birthday. So,
Terry's birthday is today. Yeah,
oh,
we're two
okay. I
days.
thought you shared the birthday.
No. So what's so funny is that when I was a kid, my best friend, her name is Allie, she had her birthday 2 days after mine. And her grandparents lived down the street from me. So we grew up like always together, right? And then when I went to high school, my friend Claire, her birthday is also the 24th. So I've like always been connected to people who are born February 24th. And of course, the Terry's birthday is the same
Yeah.
day. It feels so right. But yeah,
Yeah.
she's
Um, but I
I saw
honestly
Sunset
like, oh
with Nicole
yes.
shares. It's very good. It was dark and she comes out covered in blood. It was fantastic. So my mom
Yeah,
thought that they sing too loud on Broadway. She was like, it's too loud. I can't understand what they're saying.
I
So,
get it.
yeah.
Um, But I will say, I was really interested in like all the skating that happened this week. We had so much. I felt like it was two pretty good events for us. I think the build has been continuing to go. And I love an event in Korea just because I love to hear all the K-pop music on the warm-up. Like it is my favorite thing to like listen to like a good K-pop song like on a 6-minute warm-up. Like it gets you in the mood for some good skating.
The thing that I like about Four Continents in general is that as soon as it ends, it feels like the stopwatch to World starts going, where it's kind of the equivalent of when you're going to compete and it's like the warm up is now over. And you're like, okay, it is on. Okay, like it is
Yeah,
on, ready to go. And for a lot of these skaters, they, it was rockier. Going into Worlds, it is really a wide open field across several disciplines.
yeah.
Going into Worlds, especially the women's discipline, I think it's going to be really competitive, and anything could happen. Except I think that we have a quiet dark horse as who could win, and I don't mean that offensively. I think there's been so much attention on Amber Glenn's success this season, her triple axel, her big win at the Grand Prix final. Uh, she did well at nationals enough. And then we have Kaori Sakamoto coming in, reigning champion. But your girl Chaeyeon Kim, I have to say, has been getting it done every competition. You have to think that she's going to be on the podium no
A hundred
matter,
percent. Yeah.
right? Like, if you think about law of averages, I would expect her to be on the podium. And I think it's going to be really hard for anyone to beat her. Actually, if I really think about it, like she has done her job all year. Now, I personally don't think that she performs, especially in the free skate. However, I'm more worried about how Amber and even Cowrie might do in the big moment in front of the Boston crowd that's sometimes different than other crowds. I think it feels oddly reminiscent of Gracie Gold going into Boston Worlds, where everyone knew that the conventional wisdom was if that Gracie won, the judges wanted to give her the title, and it had been decided so much earlier. The whole season was leading up to it. She had done well at Skate America, she did well at Nationals and that, but there were other events that were rocky. It's been kind of the same trajectory for Amber that people have said all year. The buzz has been she's going to win in Boston, win in Boston. And we haven't really seen two completely clean programs. It's
Hmm.
oddly the same narrative that Gracie had going in many respects. And I think that there's reason for concern. And I think that season of Genya Medvedeva was so consistent going into the World Championships, and everybody was talking about Gracie. I have to think Chaeyeon Kim has really been delivering, especially in the second half of this season. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
what do you
mean,
think?
she's just continued to build and build and build. And during the Grand Prix, she had some minor setbacks that I think we all kind of I think penciled her in for the Grand Prix final. It didn't pan out, and I think she took that disappointment early on in the season, has used it as fuel to push for Boston, push for Korea, for continents in Korea. She's competed, I think 5 or 6 times in like the past like 2 months. I mean, like that's crazy when you look at it. Um, she's gonna have a little, she said in her interview, she's gonna have a little bit of downtime now, probably for a week. And when I mean downtime, I'm thinking like maybe not as much of a run through like that a Korean would normally do. But um, yeah, and Amber just the short program has been the bugbear for her all year. She's kind of had the mistakes with the triple axel and the short and the combination. You got to think that the Grand Prix is not going to compare to what the TD Garden Arena is gonna feel like for her. Um, it's a home world. There's going to be a lot of pressure to get those Olympic spots too. I think it could go one of two ways, and it's very, very dicey of how this could pan out.
Yeah, it's interesting because in Gracie's situation, it felt like everything was aligned for her. And in
Yeah.
some ways, it felt like now or never. Theoretically, we had no idea what was going on in her personal life and things like that. But you thought, okay, maybe she could get it together for next year, but just emotionally, it would be really hard to come back from that moment. It's a similar situation where, okay, now Russia's
Back.
potentially coming back with Petrosian next season. You don't know what's happening with other skaters. I mean, this is Amber's moment. I think it was smart for her to not be at this event as someone who has ADHD, who could potentially get mentally tired, especially after the big fall that she had. And she had, because she started later on the Grand Prix, had so many competitions really close. And it's fine to not do four continents, but at the same time, the pressure is on that she has to deliver at Worlds. Like you, like they have, catered to that and to help her be her max, and now she has to deliver. So the pressure is on, and it will be immense for her. Because she has the ability. I
Yeah.
still think if Amber were to go out and skate well, yes, I do think that she would win. I think she can't also likely have a double sow cow here or there. I mean, she
Yeah.
has to really skate well. So
I really want to see how the scoring will go too, because I'm not going to say that I don't I'm not going to ignore the fact that I think that Cheon got a home bonus a little bit here, which it's fine. Like I think her score might have been like 5 or 6 points lower than what she got, but looking at what they'll give, how Amber's home bonus will be factored in, because I mean it's not un untrue to say that that plays in part when you have skaters in their home country, have the crowd behind them. There's a lot of buzz building up. So I wonder how the scoring will pan out for everyone too. Um,
the
as you
other thing,
see
scores
what happens to
rise
Worlds.
throughout
Yeah, scores do
rise
rise throughout the season.
and Chaeyoon Kim is a returning world medalist.
Hmm.
She just won the Asian Winter Games a week ago, and she did well
Now she's
again.
a four continents champion.
Yeah, so she's done well so many times throughout the season that I do think that her score was high, but I'm not surprised that her score was high. She just
No,
beat
I
Cal.
wasn't either. Yeah, she beat Cowrie.
And the other thing is, I felt coming in that it was going to be kind of a two-horse race between Chaeyoon Kim and Mona Chiba, and the short program, you know, did pan out that way. I thought that Mona Chiba was scored a little bit conservatively in the short program. I felt that they
Hmm.
could have given her a bigger score, but she did miss the free skate, and this is now the second or third time that she's had a messy free. I think that this does hurt Mona Chiba going into Worlds. I felt like she was potentially going to be a skater that could even maybe be a dark horse to win the Worlds, certainly medal. And at this point, I think she's kind of one of about five or six skaters who's in it for a medal, but she's, in there with Nina, with
Yeah.
Petrokina, Pinzeroni,
Sh-
yeah.
Yeah, she's on it. It was rough to watch that free skate, especially after the sow. You could just tell it honestly looked like she looked injured throughout the program versus sick. But I mean, after that second or the second triple flip and she went down, you could just see she was crawling through the steps, like really just trying to get to the end. And then the end, you see her just really struggling to get off the ice. I think she's dropped her stock a lot. And I think she's kind of looking at now, she's on the outside looking in like around seventh to fourth, maybe is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I think that the problem, looking at her protocol, they gave her an exclamation point on the triple flip, which was one of the only good elements in the program.
Yeah.
She
Got the
fell
V's.
she fell on the triple sow, and they gave her a Q. I thought that that could have been an under
Hmm.
potentially, depending if Shinamano were there. I She didn't get called on it, but I felt like her double axles looked questionable in terms of
Well,
rotation.
yeah. The second one I thought for sure looked cheated. But the first one was like just kind of, it looked like she landed maybe like on like the quarter of the blade. But
You can land really on the toe, and it's how you
yeah,
come down.
it was on the toe and she like kind of had the snow fly up and the forward landing was,
I was surprised to not see that on. And then level two step sequence, the miss spin level at the end. I mean, those are mistakes that I think that she could fix. But
yeah.
I,
And I think that they are mistakes that she just looked like, I mean, she just looked like she had no gas left in the tank at that end of the program. And I'm sure, I mean, ending with the spins, all the skaters say that IJS spins take up so much energy. So I'm sure that that just completely emptied her at the end. So
that was not,
it was an unpleasant watch, and I hope that she is able
and I
to get
love,
healthy and regroup.
yeah, I love that program. And just not her day.
Yeah.
Um,
I loved her last dance in the short. I thought she should have been closer to Chaeyeon Kim, but um and there was something going on behind there. So
yeah. As far as Wakaba goes, I think that was also, it was a missed
she
opportunity.
didn't she didn't take herself out of the conversation though, which I respect, but she did leave room for others to creep up and kind of insert themselves in the conversation as well. I thought the short program, she was really gritty doing that triple flip, triple toe in the second half after missing the combination. And then the long, I just thought, the Lutz just didn't have go up the same way that she wanted it to. And they're a little harsh on her as well, I think, with the calls.
They
I
were
didn't think
partial.
that triple was under rotated in the long.
So they gave it a Q. They gave the Sao a Q. Okay, my looking at her protocol, the
Hmm.
problem, and I know people think that we're hard on her spins. The problem is that she doesn't really have any elements other than her step sequence where she had any plus fours from the judges. There was
Yeah,
one aberrant plus four uh, for a triple loop, but otherwise her GOE is really between 0 and plus
in
2, a
three.
couple
Yeah.
plus 3. And when she's stacked up against a tighter field, that's where this is going to hurt her. I will say that her mental game has improved immensely throughout the season.
She's been gritty all year.
She's really been delivering way more than we ever expected her to in the past. And sometimes maybe it was due to putting the triple axel in with the pressure in an Olympic season, why she was more up and down. She's been way more consistent all year. We really have to commend her for that going into Worlds, and I expect her to deliver a solid performance at Worlds. I kind of have her in the around fifth place at Worlds at this point.
I would say like fifth to seventh. I also noted that she took out the bracket entry of her double axel and the long, and she has it now set up looking like it's going to be set up to be a triple at a certain point.
Yes.
So
Which I think is good. Her double axel looked really great here.
yeah,
Um, she needs it for next year for sure. I don't expect her to do it at Worlds, but
World Team Trophy maybe.
stranger things have happened. But I what I think is that the program is good and the program is nice, but it's not as strong as her like Lion King program or even her Dell program in the past. And I think it's a little more muted. And with the fall, some of the judges really held her back in components,
Yeah.
including the American judge.
Yeah, the
So
American judge did not help her out. Sixth place in the
uh,
long. The
yeah,
Mexican judge, seventh.
the thing is, there were a lot of skaters here of like a similar level of ability.
Technical base, yeah.
Yeah, um,
Um, I think also like the first part of the music is just a little bit muted.
that's yeah,
Um, and it's not bad. I think it's a good pre-Olympic program. So
yeah,
I think it's fine for this year. I think she'll have something better for next year.
yeah. Well, let's talk about the American ladies, both in
Shocking.
continents and in Italy, because this was set up as a bit of a showdown between Sarah Everhardt and Isabeau, and it wound up being
And
kind of
Bradie Brady.
it wound up being almost a referendum on U.S. nationals between
Yeah.
Bradie, Isabeau, Sarah, and Alysa, and things shifted here. For me, we can start with whoever you'd want to start with.
Who do you want to start with? I'm
Let's start with Alyssa Liu. Okay.
okay. She's
It's-
good. You know what? Let's start with the highs.
okay. Alyssa Liu came into this event. She had a gorgeous short program.
Hmm.
All season, the short has really been her strength. She's a very
Yep.
fun program for the free where we picked fun music. I don't think it's as choreographed as well as the short. I also don't think the music choices are the right ones, and I don't think that it's structured in a way that shows her at her best. She talked about not being in the greatest stamina shape prior to nationals.
It looked better here.
You thought so?
I think it looks better. I'm not saying that I think it doesn't look like she's dead at the end of the program, but it looks like she's getting through it in a manageable way, where what we kind of would have assumed she would be getting through it in like October. I
Okay.
think she was really struggling to get through it at the beginning of the year. Also, before we divulge in anything else, I thought that the original music cut that they used for this program in Budapest was the best cut of it. I really don't like the cut that they have of it now because it feels like there's no bam at the end of the program. Like the music just after the jumps in the second half, like it dies in the step sequence and the choreographic sequence, and there's like no flavor to the music at all.
Yes. I also question that they have the step sequence and the choreo at the end when she's tired. Perhaps she could, get a higher step sequence level. She got a 3 here. She's improving in her skating skills. I think for next year she could get a 4. Um,
Yeah.
the layback spin at the end, she's been having problems getting the level. In the
She
short
had
here,
she had a
in the
lot of problems with levels in this event.
yeah, the other problem is that her jumps are not always around, and we have known that, but she does stand up on everything, and she is confident. The
Hmm.
judges had a field day with the red pen with her here. I
Yeah.
mean, triple flip,
Double
triple
axel
and
under.
yeah, double axel Q.
I'm wondering how much of like I'm wondering if they're going to give her like a warning on the triple flip at Worlds. You know, she's gotten it a lot all year, but I'm
Yes,
wondering how that panel in an American at an American World, I'm wondering how that will factor.
they've
Um,
definitely made a statement that the U.S. is unlikely to get two ladies on the podium at Worlds, two women on the
yeah,
podium.
I don't think that there's no way that they'll get a second lady on the podium. It's not gonna happen.
There was momentum for Alyssa coming in. I think, throughout the season, it's been building. Like some other teams, this stalled out a little bit after nationals.
I think um
So we have to give the
she's
caveat. She was away from
yeah.
skating for a long time. She's back, and it's phenomenal how she has done. And, in some ways, I think we all were sensing the momentum and just wanted it to continue. I think this is a little bit more back to reality that she was outside of skating for that long. I do think she needs to focus on the long going into
I
Boston. I think we need to change the music to the free. It does not work.
Hmm.
I
Just
think
the ending.
I don't love the second piece and I don't love the third. I do think she needs to end with Last Dance, even if it's obvious, because it needs something to rouse the crowd. It just kind of peters off and she gets sloppier as the program goes along. Even in her commitment to the choreography, I don't know how familiar she is with Donna Summer. I think she needs to research the character, research the vibe a little bit more. At this point, I think Alyssa's confidence in herself is a real strength, but it has the vibe of a sloppy show program. And
Okay.
Nicole Bilbeck used to have this like divas medley that looked a little bit slapped together, but it was pulled off by Nicole's charisma and the fact that we all freaking loved her, right? But it was a sloppy edit. This has that kind of vibe, but a lower version of it. And she's so
Yeah.
sophisticated in the short program and looks so world class. And then this free, it's like two different skaters for me as this goes along. Like this is camp and it's fun, but it's not as successful as it could be. They were actually decent to her in terms of the PCS here, which shows that if the program were even better, they'd be willing to give her the marks. So
Yeah.
I think with a better program, with that really got the crowd on her side and really showcased her and a good level for Lebeck at the end, Alyssa, this would be a more successful outing. And we did see her trying the triple axel. So she's trying to raise her game, right? But I think they need to maybe cool it on the triple axel for right now and focus on doing a clean long. You don't see her doing the triple axel, do you? Like at Worlds?
No, not at World. Sorry, I had to switch my AirPods.
Yeah.
Um, I would say, I mean, she said that she's not planning on trying it this year, in the press, but also I think she needs to like research the MacArthur Park YouTube video. Like, I feel like she needs to sit in the rain with her cake, like wondering where her cake recipe went. Like, like, she needs to have that moment, like research
Yes.
it, watch Donna Summer Last Dance, like, get educated with your
Listen,
free
I don't
skating.
think she even knows that Donna Summers was on Family Matters. I think she'd like call us old, wouldn't know what it was. Like, and that's fine, but she needs to know about Queen Donna. Like, she needs to do
Yeah,
some deeper research. And
yeah,
I think she can put together like listen, I think everybody's been on her side all season. We're
of
going into
course.
we're going into Worlds in Boston. Like, this isn't in the words of Tasha Schweikert's mother, this ain't no city championship. It's time to bring it.
No, it's
So,
time to
okay.
bring it, Alyssa. Like, you gotta,
Yeah.
and you know
Yeah.
what? She's got about a month, a little less than a month to bring it.
I think she can do it.
Um,
She's a
I
gritty
think
girl.
she's gonna break 200 at Worlds, I think,
Okay.
100%. And I think she's between sixth and 10th. That's my projection of where I see her.
I think she's capable of being better than sixth to 10th with some
Yeah,
hard. Um, I think
I
she's
think her peak is fifth. I think that's the cap.
depends if it's a well skated event. I think
Yeah,
that if other people make mistakes, she has the ability to capitalize
to
on that.
stand up on jumps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a lot of pressure. The good news is that if you look at it, she was second place here out of the people who are going to Worlds, right?
Yes.
The silver and bronze medalists at Four Continents are not going to
Are
Worlds.
not going to Worlds.
So that's interesting,
Unfortunately.
right? Like we're talking about people that are in the mix, not in the mix. Well, the two medalists not going to Worlds, that's huge. So let's talk about this.
That
Is
just throws another
Isabeau,
wrench.
Isabeau and Sarah, what is your take on this? Because Isabeau is obviously coming back from injury, time off the ice. She did show a decent score here. However, Sarah outscored her in both programs. There was already a feeling after Sarah's solid skate at Nationals about should they go with Isabeau, should they go with Sarah. It seems like as of this moment, Isabeau is going to Worlds. So I'm curious what you make of this. And did USFS name this too quickly? Like, what is your take on the decision that was made?
So initially after nationals, I was pro sending Isabeau and checking in on her, seeing how she was doing.
Hmm.
Now that we've seen her and we've seen her at this competition go out with, she said it was her second time running the long program, which I don't, I mean, like, even if you're not jumping, like, you can run it with like singles or just like run the program with elements that won't cause injury. Um, I'm the score, if we're being 100% honest, 188 in this year's worlds, I don't think is
Beth.
a respectable score. I don't think that's
Mhm.
a good score. I think I even watching Four Continents when Bradie put the skate down. I was like, dang, like, is Bradie in the conversation now? Like, is it not just Sarah? I'm pro Sarah because I think Sarah has not she hasn't fallen on a single jump all year. She goes out, she does what she can do. Um, that consistency is going to be so key for the US in Boston. Like, let's say Alysa Liu or Amber Glenn go out and have a mistake-filled program and you need someone to clutch up. Who would you rather have clutch up if Isabeau and Amber or Alysa and Amber fault? Would you rather have Sarah or would you rather have Isabeau try to clutch up and gather spots for the US?
Here's the thing. The judges were relatively generous with Sarah's components. So
Yeah.
that was a surprise. Okay.
Well,
I
she's also had that consistency throughout the
Yeah.
year and she's given them the opportunity to do that.
Yes. The fact that the judges gave her the components started to make me think, right? And the fact that Alyssa finished below Sarah here, that to me was a little bit of a surprise. I expected Alyssa to beat Sarah here. The other situation is Isabeau is also gritty. I mean, she did stand up on everything at the competition here, although it was not her best. I don't think that she necessarily should have said that it was her second run through, maybe a little bit too much information. But I think it's interesting because the Federation really wanted Alyssa Isabeau to go out and compete before Worlds. But Jason Brown is also in the same situation as Isabeau, and I
And
don't think
he's
that
not going.
him to go. So
Um,
this is kind of like useful, like it's wishful thinking for the Federation, but at the same time, Isabeau's jumps this season are more cheated than they were last season. And really, she was at her best 2 to 3 years ago. If you look
mhm.
at her body and how she is rotating in the air, and you look at how successful her jumps are, the level of speed, we've also seen her programs before. She has really stayed within a very narrow style. Even if you think about the Breakfast at Tiffany's, it's not wildly different than a lyrical style that she has really kind of been in this box during her senior career. That was not the case when she was coming up in the ranks. She had more variety, but they have gone this very, very limited area. It's reminiscent of almost Papadakis and Cizeron with how people would criticize them, right, for doing this same wheelhouse. Okay, I think it becomes less impressive over time. Her abnormal entries into jumps become less impressive when she's taking off almost from a standstill for most of her jumps. And
They're
you
so
kind of,
slow.
I think she's really at risk of going into Worlds as US number three and being judged as US number three, even at a home Worlds. So
And
if she
she's at
doesn't go,
risk.
if she doesn't go and they pull her and they put Sarah, that's a lot of damage to Isabel's reputation for next season. At the same time, if she goes into Worlds and they have a field day on her protocol, that's also
That's
not
also damaging.
right. So she would need to pull herself, right? And I think is the best situation here. Um, if she is not ready, I don't see them doing it. And they kind of have to hope that she gets the components and the spins and lands enough jumps and takes advantage like she has in the past. Unfortunately, she really hasn't had the body work this season to benefit her in terms of the judges and the score, right? Like if they
Yeah.
they view her as last year's world silver medalist, or they could view her as someone that was better last season, right? And I think that that's kind
And
of rub coming in.
the spins throughout the past 2 years have also had the issues where she really hasn't been getting the GOE. The
Mhm.
skating looked very slow, but her and Jason are both at the they will be at the show this
Mhm.
weekend
Yeah,
for the victims. So I'm wondering how they'll make them how they'll skate there. I think that's another thing to look at moving into this weekend of how do they do a program there? Are they
I
running
would
a
have.
full program?
I think they should both do their short programs. Is what I think they will
Full,
do.
I would do a full short program.
Yeah. And then it comes in
Um,
Jason, it's you want to see the triple axel, and for Isabeau, you want to see the triple triple. In
and
the short.
she was posting that triple flip, triple loop that was downgraded that people were trying to pretend was real. Um, I don't see her doing a triple flip, triple toe either. It looked like the triple toe is not there.
We'll have to see. I think there's going to be pressure for her to do it. I think she'll be better at the show than she was here. And it's another week back of skating, although the jet lag is not the best. I think she'll be better than she was at the event. It's really just a race against time, and it's just. I think by going out at this competition in Italy, it was probably a little bit earlier than ideal.
And she
And
probably wanted to.
yeah, and
And there's nothing for her to go to between. There's the Sonia Henny event, but that is way too close to Worlds to have her compete. So
I just question why they put her out in public. I think that they could have done the same effort at a rink
at home, yeah,
because they didn't do it with Jason, right? So
yeah,
I don't, and I question that if they, because now she went out and she got a score that she would need to get to be verified for a competition. Anything kind of over 165 is hard to really pull someone after that. So I think she would have to pull herself, and I think she knows that she could be better in a month than she was there. I just don't think she's going to be ready for the
a
World Cup.
hundred percent.
Yeah.
Um, I I just wonder if I think the team
Mhm.
surrounding her kind of lacks a little bit of awareness of what could really happen. And I think it honestly just might be better for her to sit this one out and really heal. Because I think
Mhm.
she is still a factor for next year for the Olympic team.
Mhm.
And if she really wants that, I think that that's honestly more of a should be more of a priority for her than going to this world championships when you're not in your best shape. So
Yeah, I agree. We'll have to see what they do. At this
yeah.
point, she like Alyssa Liu has had nine
She
lives.
is she's a girl that does have 9 lives. I've said that numerous times and I know this you never doubt this girl. I will say it is
Yeah.
something you never do is doubt Isabeau Levito. So
She's pulled it before. She needs to be better than she's been all year. So,
yeah.
and um, she's
And they should
not.
not put that triple flip Euler Sal combination back in. That should stay out of the program.
I mean, she needs to focus on getting as many clean triples as she can
Yeah.
into that.
Go for the like let's go for like a triple flip double axle sequence. Like that
Yeah,
is gonna help you a lot, Isabel.
yeah. I think it's time to get real with some of the combinations and the level. I would not put a triple flip, triple loop in the program.
I would not do that either. She was cheating it. Remember, she was cheating at her like junior at Junior World, like her peak season. Like we're if we were cheating it then, we're cheating it now still. Okay.
um, I do think that if she goes to like, I don't see her falling at Worlds, but I do worry about her getting
Unders.
hammered by the technical panel and then kind of lost in the shuffle of Wakaba, Nina.
Yeah.
It starts to be a cluster at a certain point, and there's a lot of girls at a similar level going in.
Like, let's say Shinamano is the caller at Worlds.
Isabeau
What
should,
are you gonna do? She should withdraw. It's Sarah Everhardt should go in.
yes.
Yeah.
And Alyssa Liu should send Shinamano like
A
birthday
big, a
present.
big birthday,
Yes.
like a bouquet of roses. Like,
Yeah, yeah, that would.
yeah.
Um, Especially with the pre-rotation technique of rotating off of the toe. Alyssa and Isabeau are both. victims of that.
They
So
love it.
yeah, so that's how they were taught.
Okay,
All right,
so Bradie Tennell.
she delivered. That's how she practices all the time. So I am not
And
surprised. Yeah.
she changed her layout in the free skate. She was not landing that double axel triple toe all year. She was
Hmm.
standing up on the I mean, she was standing up on the Lutz toe throughout the entirety of the season for the most part, and the double axel triple toe was always a cheat anyways. So why not just put in the Lutz toe, get the ding on the toe, but stand up on it? I mean, that was such a smart decision for her. And I thought it's really changed the narrative for her going into next season where she's a little bit more in it than I think we thought she was.
I think she's very in it after
Yeah.
competition. I think it's what she needed for herself.
Yeah.
Smart. She'll realize Isabeau is not in the best position. She did
And
beat
she'll
Sarah.
push.
She'll push.
She beat
Yeah.
Alysa.
Yeah. So it's not over for her.
No.
And it's going to be the same skaters in the mix for next year. And then, it all comes down to how
And
Amber will.
potentially, yeah, potentially Ava Ziegler might be back too. So
Yeah. It's going to be the
we'll
same
see.
mix going in for
Yeah.
next year with Elise potentially as well. Um, as far as the other skaters, what's going on with your Canadian girls? Do you have thoughts
I
on
mean,
Sarah Mode? Maddie
I
skis.
was,
Maddie
I
got
thought
to be here.
she got what? Yeah, she had the
Maddie.
flu as well. Same with Leah Perreira.
Mhm.
I thought Sarah Mode, she did two back-to-back respectable programs for her. Maddie, had the flu, but a lot of the mistakes that she normally makes, losing levels on the spins, losing levels on the steps, um, and she's given interviews before where she said she doesn't really know the spin rules, and you need to clean that up before Worlds. If you want to pretend that like a lot of the Canadians really want to pretend that she's like in it for top 10, but I would think that that's really out of grasp for her right now. Um, and then Catherine Medlin Spence, I thought went out and did a respectable performance at her first Four Continents. Looking forward to seeing her in the future.
She did well. I think Canada has to really look at Sarah Mode and Catherine for next season. I do think Maddie
Give
skis
them
is.
opportunities.
Yeah, I think Maddie will be more prepared next season. She tends to be that kind of a skater to
Yeah.
pull out if she has to. I think she'll be better at Worlds than she was at Four Continents, but she needs to be better than she's been. And I think she
I
was
also,
generously scored at. Um, I think she was generously scored at nationals. So
yeah.
yeah,
I also thought the other two Korean ladies, kind of need to step it up a little bit for Worlds too. A lot of mistakes on the jump rotations. So I think they need some more run-throughs
yeah. I
for
think there's a
Worlds.
lot of skaters that are going to be in that cluster, right? So
There's a
it's
lot between like 7th to like 15th, I feel like are all like within like 5 points.
yes. It's going to be a
So,
really tightly contested women's final, which I think is exciting. Um,
you
and
know
we'll
what also I think will be a very tightly contested event?
dance.
The pairs discipline.
Yes. Okay. All right. Let's talk it out. I think that you've been a little bit tough on Deanna Stellato throughout the season, and
Hmm. But
she,
I think I was correct.
oof,
What?
I think you were tough on her.
Can I
This
just say, I think she saved her season with that free skate.
She did save her season.
Her season was like her stock was down, down, down. She lost like to Leah and Trennt in the free skate at nationals. She lost to them in the short program, I believe. Like their stock was plummeting, and she had a triple sow and a triple toe double single axle double axle that willed her way back into world contention. And I am so happy for her. Um, but
Not
I
that they
do
were
think that,
both. I think that her throws were really good here. She did scrape
yeah,
her toe pick on the free in the free
loop.
which I
Yeah.
think, but overall it was actually like not a bad throw. I think the
No, it
big
was good.
thing is they have to clean up the three jump combo as much as they can. She always
She
throws
did what she
hard.
could do, Dave.
She always gets over amped up on it. By the way, Maya is calling me right now.
Okay. Hello,
Also,
Maya.
Oh my. Also, she wrote me a very nice message for my birthday. I was like, oh, yes, I haven't talked to her. Uh,
Russians always wish for best health, you know?
yes, they know how to write that birthday message. I think that they have to take off the sows at the same time. And Max needs to wear a black shirt in the short
In the
program.
short.
The side mesh is not the side mesh with a low waistline on the pants is just not flattering for anyone. He looks way better in the free. He has short legs. He needs to have a black, just elongate him. And it'll be contrast. It's too much gray in the short program. My wish would be that they go back to the oxygen
Yeah,
program.
I was gonna say, are we really keeping the short program? Because it's
This is a
time to pull
stubborn
it.
girl, okay? We take the wins when we can.
Deanna, it's time to pull it, girlfriend. Like
I
the
would pull
long
it.
we can keep.
I would go back to the oxygen program. I think it's a stronger program.
Yeah.
Make
Or the
everybody happy.
tango.
Nolan.
The tango was good 2 years ago. Listen, if she wants something different, the tango was great from 2 years ago also.
Better than the oxygen program?
They were both very good programs. The oxygen's obviously the best, but let's say Deanna's over the oxygen and she wants something different.
No, she likes heavy
She,
breathing in her programs.
but
That's clear.
but the tango like kind of gives the same type of like vibe and energy that she wants. You
I'm
know,
in a
like it's
rough season.
intense.
I don't know. I would just okay. All
I
right.
offer I offer an opinion, Dave, and
Okay.
she loves the
I
heavy
offer the
breathing.
oxygen. Okay, but you know what? I just think that this short program, the Beyonce, I understand for whatever reason, it sounds slower than it does on my iPhone. Although somehow on the ice, it feels endlessly slow. I'm like, spit out the words, B. Okay, like we just, oh my goodness. I think that they have to really work the unit. What the biggest thing will happen is I think the throws are in a good place right now. They need to do the sows need to take off and land at the same time.
Yeah,
Always a free jump combo and the spins as clean as they can get them in terms of unison. Because the one thing is that the Japanese they do a lot of crossovers, but they appear to have a lot of flow. Even though I will say Deanna and Max have harder transitions in their program. Um, the Japanese have a lot of flow and they have more mileage I think between them and they have a little bit stronger unison just like in terms of tracking but they are doing more crossovers so they have the appearance of being more of a classic pair. I will say as much as we give Deanna a hard time that we don't love her programs as much as we loved them both last year, the
the
Japanese
Japanese programs are awful, awful.
both are awful. Okay, let's be honest.
Yeah,
Bruno is not good at packaging. I will say, I like the costumes in the free. She looks great. Okay, she looks like when Megan cut her hair and like had a glow up. However,
yeah.
the
The
music,
audios,
insufferable,
endless. Yeah,
endless. Okay, it was annoying when Jason did it as a short program. It is insufferable at this,
for a long.
insufferable. The
Yeah.
decision is yours. I get it. I don't care. Okay. I think that the music is bad. I don't think that they have, honestly, the sass or the charisma to pull off the program. Not many people do. I don't even know that it was Jason's best program.
I don't think it was that great for Jason. It was like fine. Like it was there and it was done.
Yes. I think, but I don't think that either program really highlights their best efforts. I think their best program is probably like 2021, right?
I thought the short program emphasizes their weaknesses and how kind of sloppy they are a little bit sometimes
Okay.
as a pair team because the music is like so like heavy and rushing. It felt like
Mhm.
they were rushing the program throughout the entirety of it. You know, like going like you know when they have that little bit of a sloppy quality to them when they're skating, it just felt that it overly emphasized that. Like the da 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 da, like it just felt like it emphasized that.
I get that they have very limited range. They either are happy, happy, or very sad and crying. Uh,
Yeah,
don't think that the
I
painted
would
black.
bring I would bring back the woman, even though it's like 6 years old. Like, why not?
Bruno loves it. You know
It was
what?
the best program they did.
You know what he loves? The woman program and Seal. He loves just like Seal. He always goes for that music choice. I would say they look like they're in a better spot going into Worlds. Although I would say the Q on her triple toe is generous on the side by side.
In the
That
short,
yes, and I also question. Megan told us that it's clean at home. That might be some magical thinking. Okay, I want the video of this.
you want the we want the receipts.
I want the receipts because we see video when Megan does her jumps. I want to see
Megan's
Riku.
doing that double Lutz, double toe,
I
double
want to see
a single
Riku's
axle.
triple
Like
toes. Okay, because I don't know how it could be clean at home when we see her take off here in competition. I get that it's tough under pressure, but I question it. So I don't know.
the last thing I have to say about Deanna is that she lost some levels in the short program and on her death spiral in the long and the short.
Mhm.
So I think there's some room for them to clean that up as well. But I thought that this was a great outing for her, and I'm very happy.
Okay. Biggest take in the short program for me. Most undermarked team, Alysa and Misha, I thought were
Okay.
miles better. And had they been scored fairly or in a different group because they were earlier, they were miles better than Ellie and Danny. I understand that
Oh, of course.
Troy has done the work since the beginning. Listen, if you are a skater and you want the USFS to love you, you have to compete at the Mid-Atlantics. Okay? It's at Chelsea Piers. You may be competing on a Tuesday. It could be at like 4 p.m. It's raised. It's an awkward, there could be sun and shadow on that ice. Doesn't matter. If you're a
You
pair,
gotta go.
you have to go and kiss the ring of Troy Goldstein.
Well, that's why everyone went to the John Nicks this year.
That's the Mid-Atlantics, right? That's
Yeah, yeah.
what it was called. Okay. Alexa went this her last season, right? Chris, I don't think they did any side-by-side triples in the free at nationals, and we still gave them the win over Jessica and Hot Pants. Okay, that was all right. You know, they looked great.
Poor Brian. Poor Brian.
You know what? I defend the national title. Alexa looked great in the purple. That's when Chris quit mid-spin and retired. Uh,
Iconic.
I think that both teams did go to the John Nix, and it has
They
helped them.
did. Yeah.
The thing is, there's been such a boost behind Ellie and Danny, but it has felt random because they didn't really have the body of work to justify this sudden boost, right? And it also
It came
feels
out of
like
nowhere. Like after Worlds of last year, like we just came into the season and they were like almost scoring 200 and we're like, whoa, like what is going on?
if people like to say that Gracie Gold was pushed too far, too fast, which
What
she
about
is.
this team?
I don't know. Gracie had a silver
At
medal at
least
junior.
Gracie had like jumps.
She was second to Yulia at Junior Worlds before they sent her um, to the World Team Trophy, right? In
Yeah.
this situation, this team has been pushed very quickly. I thought that Ellie's jumps looked Q and under in the free.
Yeah. They
They
did call
have,
some of them.
they have been at times in the past, especially when she gets tight. Um, I also don't think that they have any chemistry between them. There are times in the short program that the music is intense and Danny is smiling, and it's so off to me. It reminds me of when Gracie was like really happy during all of Life is Beautiful. It's just there. It's a jump drill, and the program. I question Ellie and Danny being pushed because I think it might not be the right team. Although I understand that Alisa and
Who
Misha
else? Yeah.
have, citizenship for the Olympics. I do want to check if they are married or not at this time. I mean, everybody's doing it. So I strongly suspect, but don't know. Um, if she's
I
not,
will say,
I'm willing to marry
I
her. If she's not, like
yeah,
for 2030,
we will
like
get you, girl. We got
we'll go
you.
down the aisle. Um, I I think that their short program is so much stronger than Ellie and Danny's, and that it
Yeah.
was the free, messy here. But
I think though, one thing about Danny and Ellie is that they do have very nice. I was listening to Megan Duhamel speak about them earlier today, and she said that they have very good pair elements, which I do agree with. They have good death spirals, fine, good lifts. The pair spins are fine. The twist is pretty good. So they have a lot of those other elements that do kind of back them up and help buffer the score a little bit. That when they do kind of, they really only really need to land like one or two of the throws and one of the jumps to kind of keep them in like a maybe like sixth through 10th conversation. But
Pushing them higher
and
than
I
that. They're pushed in the
yeah,
form
I
of
think they also have a bit of a good cohesiveness. That program's pretty trained. Both programs are very well trained, I felt. They've done them numerous times, but I do think that Efimova and Mitrofanov, they have just a more dynamic and sophisticated program between the two. So
if Alysa and Misha were eligible for the Olympics, would they be scored higher than Danny and Ellie at this
they
time?
would be number one. I think they'd be number one.
Yes. I think that we have dressed up Ellie and Danny as much as we can. We gave them the Marie France music. You know,
The
they have
Matthew Perron dresses and
yes,
costumes.
they yeah, right. Like they look, but substance wise, it's still dicey. And it gives me Shelby Lyons and Brian Wells. It gives me actually a little bit more Mary Beth Marley skating with Rockney, where it just feels like we're shoving a square peg into a round hole and we are trying to push this team along. I don't have a good feeling about it. Every time we see it, it makes me uncomfortable.
And this is now two back-to-back programs in like a big moment where they've had issues in the long and on the throws and even in the short. But the throws not happening in the big moment. That wonders what's going to happen at Worlds and what will happen next year, presumably in the team event for them.
The other thing I will just say is their trajectory as a team would be fine if they were not getting the scores that they have been getting. That's why it's raising
Yeah,
attention to this because
is because they're in it.
you previously said that they could beat Deanna, and based on the
They
scores,
did in the short,
I can understand why you said that. I don't think that that was accurate based on the actual skating on the ice, but
Yeah.
I understand why you would say that. I don't think that they're as good as their scores. Just
No,
my
I agree.
personal.
I agree.
I think that other teams have better programs and connection before that. I do think that they
Yeah.
are relatively good. We'll have to see. But there's been a lot of boosts behind them. Um, Pairs. The other one is that I think that Audrey and Balaj have had, a lot of buzz about them. They've had a lot of promise. I think they put in the triple twist here. Megan likes to go for full difficulty. That plus four continents, I think, was probably a tall ask, and the free was a real mess for them
Yeah.
here. But I think
So
we've kind of been
Megan,
hoping everything would go right, right? We've been hoping everything
yeah.
would go right. This team would be ready for the Olympics. I have more questions about this if this is just going to be too quick. I think that they do have potential, but it might be for after the Olympics. Okay, what did Megan say?
Megan said that they had the option to do the double or the triple twist in the free, and Audrey chose to do the triple. So
If you spent how many hours flying to a competition with Megan Duhamel where she could talk to you on an
would you
air?
want to do the double twist? Like no, you wouldn't. But you know what?
Okay.
I think that regardless of how poor the scores were,
Mhm.
I think they really have had a great season. They did very well at the domestic event that they did for their first outing. They did well at Golden Spit of Zagreb, got a medal there. They placed fifth at nationals, where they arguably could have been on the pewter. And they've been building slowly. I think this is good. This is a reality check for them and kind of allows them to see where the pieces need to be built up, and what work needs to be worked on throughout the summer, because they have a real legitimate shot at potentially being one of those, I think, two Olympic spots. I don't think they're gonna get three, but they have a legitimate chance because of citizenship issues with other teams. So I think they've got work to do and they know they have work to do.
Yeah. By the way, I'm not saying that they shouldn't have done the triple twist. I just think to
Yeah,
ask them to.
it was a lot. It's a lot to expect. And Megan also did say that knowing that because they were talking about the Japanese team, the second Japanese team, doing the double twist. Megan said that knowing that you have to do an element like the triple twist first, that you don't have a bunch of mileage on it, can kind of cause a bit of it kind of sparks anxiety from the start of the program versus like like being going and doing a double twist is like something that's easy for a team that they don't have that anxiety to like the side by sides, but it starts from the beat of the music. So that could have played a factor into why some of the other elements went awry.
Yeah. I do think they'll be better next season. I think they need the summer of training, and then they need those Grand Prix events to really be ready, and the Senior Beast
And
for next. Yeah.
they need to find their artistic style a little bit more.
By the
So,
way,
but it was first year period,
Five needs
no
to wear
problem.
a black shirt. They should never have him in a matching blousey shirt. That it looks so unnatural. Like, I have to tell you, like his vibe is so broy, and he's wearing a
But
straight up blouse with like a skirt on the bottom of it. I don't know who put him in that in the free skate. It just looks like he's having like costume dysphoria, right? Like where you don't
yeah,
feel, you know how like you can like not feel safe in your own body. He looks like he's not even wearing that costume. Like it's disconnected from his body. Like it is.
Tara,
Yeah.
Tara Kane will like us to mention that we thought his eyebrows looked great. So
Eyebrows looked, and you know what? Yes, if only the costume looked as good as the brow.
she'd like us to mention that. So
Okay. You know what? Yes. Um, Leah and Trent did a good job here. They
I thought they were really well skated really, really well. I was really into I thought their short program was really good. I know it's like so basic musically and stylistically, but I thought it was skated very well. And she battled through that long after having the flu when they landed in China for a layover. So I have so much respect for her.
they should have Madison Chock design costumes for them next year so that they could look more
Yeah,
elevated.
yeah.
Um, in the short,
Hmm.
her costume is not as good as it could be. And they are much better than they were last year. They have really turned it around because the beginning of this season, Leah and Trent did not look as good as they
Did
have.
not look good. They lost to the Brits at the beginning of the year.
So listen, but like they always say, it's two halves of the season. After the first of the year, everything
Yeah,
starts fresh. So, all right, let's talk about the men because this was a mess. Um,
kind of boring. Yeah,
it was boring. I will say Shaidorov was incredible in the free. He was
insane.
insanely good. Um, dark horse for Worlds, and
Hmm. And he left room to add more content because he wasn't doing a second triple axel in the long. Um, he
I
could
think
really be like second at Worlds
he could be
or even
anywhere.
first if Ilya like messes up.
It would be hard for Ilya to lose Worlds. However,
Yeah,
Shaidorov is closing the gap,
the
especially
gap.
Yuma going into Worlds, which is tough. I think Yuma will skate up at Worlds, but he can't make any mistakes. And Shaidorov is definitely in the mix, should he do well. But he has been up and down throughout the season. So
Hmm.
as many of these guys are. Now, Camden apparently I think, had a slight injury here.
Okay.
But I was ready to send him to Worlds before this
Until
event.
this.
Yeah. So I don't know. At this point, I think he unfortunately opened the door for Jason. I will say he did a gorgeous quad toe to open the program in the free. It was really, really nice.
Yeah.
But things just got, the popped axle, and things kind of went downhill from there. Um, I think he will be in it for next season. I think both he and Max Naumov have a good shot of being in contention for the Olympic team. Um, I I have to say I like Isabeau. I'm a little bit apprehensive of Jason competing at Worlds based on his
Between the
boot problem.
two,
Yeah,
who are you more apprehensive about?
Isabeau or Jason
Yeah,
or Jason.
I agree. We've at
Not
least seen Isabeau.
seen Isabeau. Jason had boot problems all year, and at his best, at least the second triple axel can be questionable. He just hasn't been
Hmm.
ready all year because of his boot problems. He's had foot problems in the past. I also think just as he gets older, it's tougher every season. So that's why he does deliver in competition. He's going to go out, his spins are going to be good, his steps are going to be good. It really depends on how consistent the men's field can be because at a Worlds, you never know if the men are just going to flop, right? And he has
Yeah.
benefited when the field has flopped in the past, and he has not, right? And he's stepped up. If he makes any mistakes at Worlds, and can be like dicey, like the men's field is so up and down. Obviously, he doesn't go in with the highest technical arsenal, but he's typically super consistent. But this season, he's going in not being super consistent, and that is what is, I think, nerve-wracking.
And I have to say, I kind of feel like the programs are a bit of a snooze fest this year from him. It isn't his best overall material. The technical has been a bit of a struggle. Jimmy Ma's come in and scored pretty consistently throughout the year at his international assignments that he's had. Um, I think it isn't, I don't know if it's the time for Jason to go. I think he also could benefit sitting out.
Yeah, I yes. Jimmy with Boston has the potential to do well. I will say the fall, if Jimmy did not fall in the free, I think it would be a really, really strong push
Yeah,
to go. I
it was a
think
silly fall, but yeah.
I think the moment was better than maybe the skate for him here, but he did, he made a statement for himself. So with everything that happened, I think that's a conversation that I think Justin Dillon needs to be having at this point.
Yeah,
But I
we
don't
need
think
some
they would.
daily updates.
I don't really think the third U.S. man would be in it at the World Championships. I think it's going to be a throwaway spot. So what you could go with having the emotional moment with Jason competing, or you can go with the emotional moment of having Jimmy competing in front of a home crowd. I think either way,
Yeah.
it's fine, but I don't think either one's going to be in the mix. Um, I also I wanted your take on Roman at this point. I thought that Roman Sadovsky's skate here was a huge step back after what we saw at Canadian Nationals for him.
Yeah, I just think a lot of the jumps really looked cheated throughout the entire program. I thought the triple axel looked under rotated. They didn't call it. Um, and he just like all of his landings are always very like scrapey on the ice. Like it looks like his toes always scraping it up. The spins were not great. He had a negative GOE on the spin in the short program. The steps honestly looks like he's just skating through mud throughout the entirety of it. I just, and the thing that makes me worry is do you really trust him to get to the long at this point?
He's Canada's best hope.
Yeah,
Uh,
I know that, but I don't even know if he'll get to it.
it, I think you have to worry about imposter syndrome. Sometimes people don't do as well at an event like Four Continents, and then they'll skate up at Worlds after they kind of get scared into getting it together. I think he has been skating kind of slower this season as a strategy. I thought
Throughout
at
the entire year. It looked kind of like planned almost.
but I thought at Nationals his speed was very slow, and very
Yeah,
measured. Um, I felt like he was slow here, and it did not work nearly as
it
well
didn't
as it.
help out. Um, and you got negative GOE on the choreographic sequence as well.
Yeah, it was not a good skate for
Only
him.
plus one and twos on the final spin, which are normally like his bang element. Zero on the plus or on the triplets double toe, plus one on a double axle. I mean, if you're a senior man doing a double axle, like you should get more than a plus one on that
I,
element.
I mean, if I were Skate Canada, I would be visiting him in training several times before Worlds to just be monitoring and making sure what is happening in practice to see how the consistency and just the full programs are happening to be and helping him be successful as ever, as much as possible because the Olympic selection will really depend on that the number of spots to get through the short program. I also felt in the men's event that Kazuki, while he did well, blew an opportunity here. And I think he's been really kind of in this same position for the last 2 years.
5 years.
Well, listen, there was a point in time where there were skaters who were legitimately better than him in Japan,
Yeah.
right? If you go back to the last Olympics, come on. He really didn't have a hope. However, he's just kind of stagnated with content that he can do, but he often pops the second quad if he lands the first one. The double threes out of some of the jumps just seemed like a little bit of sloppiness, and he has not skated up to the big moment. And I wonder if his coaching dynamic or his training needs to be looked at, whatever. Because he is one of the Japanese skaters that does deliver at the end of the season, typically. So, yeah,
Yeah. And he beat the other boy, Setsuye, who's going to Worlds. I think
yes.
there's a legitimate conversation to be had about the Japanese men's world team of them potentially not acquiring three spots for the Olympics.
I often
Because
find that
they really, Shun Sato has not been good. Yuma has been much poorer than we expected him to be this year. So
I often question how Japan names their teams, especially because their skaters, a majority of them qualify for the Grand Prix final or in the mix to qualify for the Grand Prix final. Then they have nationals right after that. It's hard,
mhm.
it's already hard to peak before that event. And they often have so many random skaters at the that like pull off a
They
Hail
could
Mary
just pull it out. Yeah.
that make you believe in selection procedures. I have to say, like they have had so many random silver medalists, like or brought like Kishira over the last,
Yeah.
that
The
are
one
not.
girl in 2020 that was like a junior.
Yeah, so this has happened a lot at their nationals. Yeah, and they have so many strong skaters. So I don't know. The Japanese nationals is always a very competitive and dramatic event. If you make any
Yeah.
mistake, you get buried. So I I question about who they're going to send, who they should send. But yeah, that's a legitimate argument. I have to say, what do you make of Junhwa Cha? I thought that overall, I was nervous about him doing back-to-back events like this. I think he did his, you know what? He left more on the table to
He
go
did
in.
what he needed to do. Yeah.
I think he's solidly in the mix for a medal,
Mhm.
and I think I would say he's one of the top four guys going into Worlds at this point.
Yeah. I was saying that I was worried about him having four clean skates back to back, but luckily he kind of had some mistakes in the short and the long here. And not major mistakes, just the pops on the double sow and the short and the double toe and the long. And I kind of see him anywhere between like potentially second or sixth at Worlds.
I would say between third and seventh. Yeah, third. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I could see him getting up there. Like I think if he had nailed his short and had the quad toe and the long, he could have beat Shaidorov here. Um,
Mm.
I definitely think that that was capable of him.
I,
But I
what are your
could see
top
him
five Worlds? I would
my
say
top five for the men: Ilya,
Yuma.
June, Yuma,
Better.
Shaidorov. Maybe like I think it's a the fifth man would be a combination of Britchke, Memela, Grossel, Adam, potentially.
Rogashev.
That's my or Torgashev. Torgashev has the two quads and is long now. I think this was also a missed opportunity for him to get another to have some buzz built about him because I think if he would have medaled here, he could have changed his perception of being more of a threat for the higher top 10 spots.
I wonder why he didn't go with the decision.
Yeah.
Made it. Listen, it's another one like Amber Glenn. As long as he does well at Worlds, everyone will say he's brilliant for not going. So
Yeah. Yeah.
always a tough competition. It's dicey in that way. You don't want
And
to
it was
go.
in Asia.
Listen, after nationals, you could feel one way about Camden. He came here, was a little injured, and now his stock is down. So, um, yeah, I think
And now
Torgesh.
Brady's stock is up. So
Yeah. Okay. Now the dance event here, I have to say, I was more surprised by the results than the actual skating. I felt like the
yeah.
team they do, and uh, Judy Bloomberg was not kind to Madison Chock.
Or
In the
David Molina.
well, I listen. Judy's a tough caller. Uh, you never know how she feels about an ice dance conglomerate as someone that has been on the bad end of
Wronged.
politics,
Yeah.
or she might not be so pro I am controlling everything, right? And you never know, but her calling was definitive in this event here. Um, I have to say, I don't love either free dance. Like full stock,
Mhm.
I'm so bored of ice dance this year, and it's my favorite discipline. And I am more into pairs for this.
The Paris has been exciting. The dance has been predictable
I would say the
what
dance
it
has been
is.
news all year. I feel like we have been in no man's land for 3 years. That everyone did like one extra year after the Olympics and has kept going, like Cowrie.
They're like third year, they're like seventh year seniors is what it feels like.
God. I think that the music choices are snoozes. They are slow, and there just needs to be new energy. And the fact that no one can move up because these teams do have more experience. But I have to say, I think the
It doesn't
Canadian,
look like, yeah.
it's supposed to be a
And
tango, not a tango. And I get it, but the music is muted. I don't think the take five is good. I don't think that they can skate up to it. I get that it's sophisticated, and I like that. I think that they have had way better free dances. Um,
mhm.
it's like watching through mud, and I dread it this whole season. I
Um,
just dread
Another
it.
thing I think is that the rhythm dance, I feel like it's been the same style for like almost 3 years in a row. Like we've had like some sort of like 80s, oldies music, like 70s music, and it all just sounds the same. That we've heard the same music in the rhythm dance for like 3 years, and now we're potentially going to be hearing like something similar next year. Or was it the waltz? I forgot. Is it the waltz next year?
At what next year is supposed to, yeah.
But it's just we've had the same rhythm dances for everyone for 3 years, and then sometimes they'll do the same sort of vibe in the free dance. There's been no real um difference between the programs. It just they all feel the same. Everything feels the same over the past 3 years.
I mean, at this point, I'm willing to go back to a paso doble and a tango. I have been so disappointed and bored by the rhythm dance for the
Yeah,
last, and I think that the efforts to actually make ice dance more relevant have backfired and
failed. Yeah.
failed. So I don't think that that is working for the rhythm dance. I will say I'm most interested to see if Lejoie and Laga can beat Fear and Gibson at Worlds. I don't think either will make the podium unless there's like an
Big
earthquake that
mistakes.
happens during the free dance. Like I
Yeah.
think the top three is in kind of in the mix. I still expect Chock to win at Worlds, but I think Gilles and
Mhm.
Poirier will skate
For a
solid.
second.
Yeah.
I want the bigger question for me now is how is the push next year going to be for the Italians at the Olympics in Milan? I mean, how are they going to be able to get them to the top of the podium? Is because it's in their home country. I'm excited to see how that push will go next year.
it's interesting. They would have to have amazing programs. The thing is, I think that there's definitely fatigue of the top teams in ice dance. They've just competed for
People are over it.
realistically, we know what each team can do. We know their shtick.
Mhm.
I mean, Piper and Paul are wearing different costumes at every competition at this point. Unfortunately, we're not seeing anything new from any of
Yeah,
these teams. So
they all
I
skate really slow, minus the Italians, but
there are no superstars in ice dance right now, and it's evident. It feels like we were watching
mhm.
Saved by the Bell, the new class. It really does. Like it has just been kind of a dead discipline for about 3 years right now, and it's
We're missing Hubble.
we're missing Hubble. We're missing Papadakis. We are, frankly, uh, if there was like a young Russian team, anything to mix it up at this point, yeah, it would be helpful. I mean, I think Olivia Smart has the potential to move up at Worlds if
Yeah.
they're well in front of the crowd because there is so much fatigue for the other teams. Uh,
Well, Olivia Smart, her score from Europeans would have placed her fourth here.
mhm,
She would have beat Carrera and Ponomarenko,
mhm.
which that would be huge for her to get that because that would get her probably in the top six, top six, top seven.
I
So
think they have the opportunity to move up with that free dance should they skate well. And it's just the fatigue at the top is strong.
Yeah.
Realistically, I think that both, I think both Piper and Paul and Chalk and Bates missed some training time this summer, and that it is showing throughout the course of this season. So they both
Yeah.
need to amp it up for next year. But we will see. I think that Piper and Paul probably did deserve the win here. I mean, they have, lost to Chalk and Bates many times when I think at Worlds last year is questionable. So I don't have an issue with them beating them at this competition. I think
Yeah.
with this material, it's not the best. I don't think that they skate up to the rhythm of Take Five in the free at times in that program. So, um, but I don't really care for the Canadians free dance or actually either program. So
Any program.
I don't like any of the programs this season.
Any of the programs. Yeah.
Oh, well, what was your moment of Four Continents?
You know what it was? It was Ansu Lim's, So Young Wee, and Davin Choi's retirement gala. I thought it was really nice to see them send off into
Okay.
retirement.
I have to say it for me, it was Bradie and Sarah like really upsetting the way things were going. Deanna upsetting the way things were going.
Yeah.
Piper and Paul beating Chalk and Bates. Like at least we have something exciting going on
Yeah.
here.
Something
Um,
different in dance.
yes, like at least like we have intrigue at some point. So I think that Four Continents, kept things moving as it needed to, and I'm okay with it. So Olin Edge and Live
Yeah.
Sexy.
Bye, guys.